episode 12 of the Green Room podcast. I'm here with potentially our most famous guest,
Fuck off.
Stevo Timothy, also known as Farmer Michael, as various other few aliases. I'm very happy to have you here today, and give us a little introduction to yourself and what you're all about, and how you kind of came to be so famed to this day.
It's weird to answer that because I don't like talking about myself like that. But yeah, I suppose about, 7 years ago I started doing little skits on Facebook, and the rest is history. I was bored on my tits in Air Square one night, and my brother was in the car with me, pure depressed out of our heads, and I just said, record me. Because in secondary school and shit, I always used to do these little raps as a farmer. So I just thought I'd be like, go short. It's your birthday. We're going to party, like it's your birthday. We're going to invite your Mary up because it's your birthday, and things like that. So like I just said record me for the laugh, and I'll just do this character that I had, Farmer Martin, and that evolved into Farmer Mike. And then the accent changed about 20 times since then, but not many people noticed that. So it's just, yeah, that's me basically.
Yeah, for me, it is definitely very funny having like gotten to know you over the years, because like I was watching your videos when they first came out, and like that's what we used to watch. We'd smoke a few joints and we'd watch like the very original ones and being skits, like, because I kind of did the same stuff. I'd be doing impressions of farmers that we knew, or we had a boxing trainer, I will leave his name out of it, who was a delirious old school half English half Irish man, and that was our buzz at the time. I just come out with impressions of John, and it was kind of the similar vein of things, like. And then years later, then to be making music with you and knowing you, like, I mean, obviously you're just another lad from Galway, like, but it still was kind of, to some people when I say it, like, it's like, oh yeah, like, I know Farmer Michael. They're like,
yeah, it's
really
weird when people.
It's like, well, I knew his brother for years, and that's how I got to know you. It's like when I was making beats and you were looking for stuff for your tracks, and Ronan put me onto you, like. So I mean, in fairness, if I hadn't met him back in the day, that you probably would have never.
Probably would anyway, because I would have been looking for a Galway producer anyway. You know what I mean? Because stay local and all that shit. You know what I mean? But it's weird when you hear stories like that. Well, do you know him and you know him, and then you ask anyone around me, and they just, it's just Steve. It's just, I don't ever want. I'm just the same fucking fella I always was. Just a bit more anxious and nervy about people, more so than I used to be. So I ended up shooting myself in my foot. Worse. So,
could you have ever imagined the level of success you kind of achieved with what you're doing now?
No,
like?
Jesus Christ, no.
Not
Not even with comedy, not even with multiple characters, but to kind of do it on the back of one character, it's kind of weird, like, because when I started doing other characters, then like James Bernard and a few different ones, that people would be commenting going, oh, Michael does impressions. So it was always Michael. I was always the base farmer, Michael the farmer, and then Michael the farmer does impressions, and people would come over going like, asking me questions, and then go, you don't sound like Michael, and they'd be kind of disgusted that I don't sound like that. So it's weird.
No, I don't mean to be offensive towards people like that, but they're stupid, but they're also kind of entitled as to kind of like what you put out there and what you should be doing. It's like, oh, stop doing this character, I want more of this character. It's like, you do realise this is another human being, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That they've got
you should do this. But it's funny as well, when I start playing with a new character, people will go, stick to Farmer Michael. Then you do Farmer Michael, same person would be like, I'm getting awful tired of Farmer Michael now.
Like, who are you talking to, like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
do you not think I try and up the ante each time, or I try and change things, that I'm not conscious of this?
Yeah.
Like, I'm doing it for 7 years with relative success through a long period of time, so I am conscious of this. I'm conscious of this every video. Every sentence I say is that evolving the character, is the character going back away. Sometimes Roxy will play and I'll go, shit, I can't do Michael. How do I sound again? I'd have to watch an old video because I forget even how to do the accent of the character. So that
it also depends on the mood you're in too. Like, sometimes you can just lose the voice. Like, there's a couple of no, I don't do it so much anymore, but again, it was back in the day when we first started smoking weed and all that shit, and we just be, it was such a bigger occasion at that age, like, and I'd be doing Simpsons impressions of a few characters, like poor man's ones, but if I did Homer and then did Barney, I couldn't go back to Homer. Your mind gets so caught in between, and it would fuck it up.
It's funny because that's where I started doing impressions, copying Simpsons characters. I can't really do it now because my throat is all gammy, but I used to love going that, where is the monies? When are you going to get the monies? And all that. I used to do Barney as well. I'm pure self-conscious now for some reason, but
Bonnie.
My name is Barney and I'm an alcoholic. And I still have to do it for Jamie when he's going to bed and stuff. He'll come in and ask me to do like, do the Barney or whatever. So I used to do comic book guy in a few of them. So
like, most of those are fairly easy to do. It's just it's boils down to the nerves of people.
yeah, it's confidence.
Because
Yeah,
the lads to this day, it's like, oh man, what happened? Like, you used to be doing all these impressions for us, and it's like most of them are pretty shy. I got sick of them. Like, it's like you could probably do half them better. It's just I was the one who
balls
was
back then to
who
do
just
it.
sit
Yeah.
there for an hour and do it and do it and do it.
Same
like.
with me in school. You had the balls to do it, whereas now you'd be more self-conscious of it, and you'll only half do it because it's a fear of like rejection or someone saying that's shit, and that holds back a lot of humans and a lot of humanity because we fear rejection and we fear criticism.
Yeah.
Like it's not too bad doing a comedy character, even though I go full fucking guns on some people sometimes. But that's just the way I am. I'm just, if people are gonna fucking bring shit, I'll bring it back. But like when it comes then to me branching out into doing music, that was scary because that's me.
It's more serious.
That's me in my own accent, in a Galway accent, rapping and lyrics that I wrote about a time I wanted to fucking end my life. And if I'm gonna get criticised by this, that's more touching. You're mocking I'm wearing a mask through the character. This is just me stripped away.
Yeah.
So that was a big fear when I came to you as well with the first one.
It was the same for me really between producing. It's kind of like you're in the background and stuff like that. But when I got and started rapping, like it was a different story, and that's why I took the approach of putting a mask on and not telling anyone bar like one person that it was me. And I think I got a better response then because you know yourself with Irish people like the begrudgery and shit like that. It's just you know who's this fool? They'll go for they'll put way more passion into criticising you if you do something that's shite or fucking whatever. Like but then when you do something good, then it's just like fucking crickets like.
Yeah, exactly. I hear it every day. Like people don't think you can hear them as they walk past the car going, "That's that fucking spastic in there." Who the fucking fool? Like. Every day, 2 or 3 times a day, I hear that when I'm sitting in the car.
Why are they so angry? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I've no idea. It's like, did I do something to you personally? Did I like harm your family? Did I like?
I got reviews off someone. I've brought this up a few times. Off a guy online before. Like, I never met this guy. Nothing personal between us whatsoever. And then, like, his reviews were like dedicated to like just fucking slating me. Like, half of it, three or four episodes, and half of them were just based on me, and it was just going to such detail, like, I was kind of like, what the fuck, like, and since then, like, you know, I think I've done a lot of good tunes, and the label is picked off and stuff like that, and you know, things are going well, and not a word,
well done on that
not a word from him or anyone else, you know what I mean, that were saying things like that before, like, and just like as it goes, like, it's kind of like, I only want to know you when I can fucking put myself above you, not when
people will only like kind of have, Irish people especially will only have an outpouring of empathy for you and support for you when you're really down and down and down. And I noticed that if I went on to do my comedy on the Late Late Show, I would have been ripped to death. When I went on talking about alcoholism and wanting to kill myself in my accident, I think there was 1 or 2 bad comments.
The rest had to hold back, like.
And then it was fine because I'm suffering, and we relate to suffering more than we relate to success because our history, our music, our poetry, our authors, it's all revolving around this, like the victimhood. And we don't dwell in it, we deal in that because that's our past and that's the emotional trauma we carry epigenetically through our fucking systems.
It really does carry over because I mean I don't think my generation until recently has really had much to complain about, at least in the regard of
like I was just at the tail end of it really, like, because I was born in 1981, so like my outfit lost his job when I was about 7 out in digital, and they upped and left, and then the outfit was on the door, and then my mother got sick, and at that time in the mid 80s, late 80s, Ireland was a poor fucking country. It only started to improve. Didn't improve for my family per se, because by that time the album was really sick, my dad couldn't work, but I seen things starting to improve about like 3rd year, 4th year,
late 90s kind of. It's like people don't realise
mid 90s
the difference between that and even just the mid 80s and early
we had
80s,
fucking nothing.
All you have to do is watch movies, even like there's no kind of all of them are
Blackboard
always
Jungle
Into
and
the
things.
West, the commitments, it's Snapper.
Even watch just Nationwide or some like documentary from that period. It looks like Belarus, it looks like an Eastern European colony, and all
that people did was just drink, and that was
all I looked forward for was Christmas, because my uncle in America would send me a check for $100, and that enabled me to buy my Christmas presents, enabled me to have a Christmas. That's what I looked forward to, because there was like people kind of, it's weird today when I'm talking to people like Ronan, they get Supermax next door, and I go, we never got that. you couldn't afford to get. Like fast food was off limits.
And that's so casual now for anyone.
Yeah, it was
no matter what
completely
kind
and
of
utterly
situation
off
you're in,
limits.
like.
Funnily enough, I go around to Roxy's house the odd weekend, Roxy's granny's house the odd weekend, and they'd like, she'd give them money to go down and get Supermax burgers, and then I get a cheeseburger, you know, that kind of way. So it was a massive treat. So it's kind of, a lot of people don't, like, we've come on a lot. Yeah, there's people fucking suffering big time, but in a different way.
It's
just being able to eat and shit is a lot different than it was.
Like, it's almost like people who are at the end of the spectrum now are probably still doing better than people that might have been in the middle or even the higher half. Like,
but we have the reverse of that. Then we have the situation now where basically, like, when I was young, if the father had a job, the mother traditionally stayed at home and there'd be 2 or 3 kids. They'd be grand. They'd have a car. One person working. Now you'd have 2 working and they're broke. And the government will step in then to allow the employers to go on with that system. Yeah. The government will step in, what's it called, the blah blah blah, just to bring their money up to a certain level. So you're basically giving the 2 people that are working dole, so the employers don't have to pay them an adequate wage. And it's so that, like, we're paying them. Yeah. We're paying the employer's wage for them by default. And it's sickening. Like, I hate this country in so many respects.
Rightfully so. Like, for my own self, like, trying to find a place, like, it's just, if I wanted to find a place tomorrow, like, and I have, you know, decent amount of savings, like, I'd have my money burnt away in no time. Yeah. And considering, for me, it's like how long it took me to save up that money, it's like, fuck that. So I'm just holding out till daddy kicks me out the door, basically. Like,
but I always remember, like, years ago thinking, like, if I have 100 grand now, if I can make up 100 grand, imagine the gaff I could build, buy a bit of land and build it.
You couldn't do shit with it now.
Gone. That, like, it's laughable. You probably wouldn't even get the site for that these days.
No, the site.
And that would have been, like, up there Circular Road or up that way. Yeah. You know what I mean? Relatively near. But
site next door to us sold for $1 million in like 2005 or 6. Still just a field. My old lad got our one for 10 grand. Yeah. About 10 years before that. So, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, obviously there's inflation, but there's not that much between £10,000 and €1 million. Yeah. It may not have been $1 million, but it was. I think it was more now. By the time they cleared out the field and drained it out, it would have been close to $1 million, according to the neighbour next door, who was a builder, and he said, like, you know, what the fuck's the point?
It's insane, isn't it? It's absolutely. You see the little 1-bedroom houses in Dublin and shit, and you're just like, and then it's all publicised in a way that this cracking house, and you always see it in the Independent and the Irish Times.
Why are you sharing that, like, half the time? It's like, we can get this house for
because their buyers and their readership are in the lovely lucky ones. Like, Ireland's the best country in the world if you're wealthy. It is the best country in the world. Like, there's no doubt about it. If I was extremely wealthy, I would fucking love Ireland and I would love the government.
And that's free in some cases.
Yeah. And it's disgusting. And most of these people, like, I've no hesitation in saying it, most of these, like, not even should lose their jobs, should be either killed or imprisoned. I don't give a fuck. Like, they're scumbag bastards.
I'm all for bombing the dog, to be honest. Maybe leave fucking, what's his name? What's your man from Mayo called again? The ponytail. Ming Flanagan. Leave him
Ross
out of
Common, I think. Yeah,
leave him out of it. The rest
Ming
of
the
them
Merciless.
Fucking get beheaded.
That reminds me of a story. We were down Dangan and we were smoking. We were doing waterfalls. We had no skins and we had the remainder left and wanted to do a giant. And Ming used to jog up around Dangan. And we were pure paranoid to ask him, and then he went around again. So we said we'd ask him this time. He was like, Ming, do you have any skins? And he's like, no, boys. Ming doesn't have skins. We're fucked. We're never going to get a skin now. Stop. Oh, our voice is actually going here while we're fucking doing it.
And we're not far from where you would have initially grown up, which would have been the Rahun Flats.
Gael Carey.
Oh, that was over that side, was it?
Yeah. Just the next estate.
Yeah, I know. I always assumed they were, you know, the old graveyard. I always assumed they were roughly around that area.
The flats were there.
Oh.
And Gael Carey would have been up here. My parents and my brother and sister grew up in the flats. They moved just...
They weren't around for very long, were they?
I'm not sure. The 70s to the early thousands, was it, I think?
Fair enough. I don't remember them at all. That's what
it was weird because it was like... It was a little bit of like Dublin inner city fucked in the middle of Westside.
Yeah, because I didn't know it was a thing till a couple of years ago. Like, my old dad said it to me, and I was like, I had no clue that there was flats there. Like,
I used to collect my brother from school. He used to go up my sister's racer and he used to cycle through them. You'd have like people whistling from the blocks and stuff, and you'd always have this weird feeling. And I was mugged in there all the time as a fucking kid. Brought in the stairwells, like, empty out your pockets.
It's not something you picture with Galway at all.
No,
I just picture Galway as Galway has been for the last God knows how long, except maybe a little bit more conservative and less built up, and like you'd forget like there was a prison over by the cathedral as well at one point. Like I saw a picture of it there.
The Galway jail.
Were you ever? I'm sure it was closed well before.
No, I'm not that old. I was in a few others, but I wasn't in that one. That one's well gone.
Do you mind speaking about your experiences in jail, or?
It doesn't bother me in the least.
Well, like as someone that has not been to prison, and certainly probably from an era that might have been rougher for someone your age at the time going in, because you gave us a few fucking kind of.
I was shitting myself.
Yeah.
I had just turned 18, and I was young 18.
Yeah.
I was scrawny and small. As you could imagine. Like I'm tall now, but I wasn't tall back then. Like I had a weird growth spurt when I was about 18 to 20. So I was just at the beginning at that time. So I was only small little skinny fella, and they didn't even think I was 18.
And where was this?
Castlereagh. So they didn't even think I was 18. It was basically, they came up to the door, said, I was always in court, like, so I had a load of fucking outstanding fines, couldn't afford to pay them, so off I went. So I was off then, I don't know what I got, like something small, 28 days or 2 months or something. So that was it. So it was alright, because I knew some people that were going up on the bus that were relatives of people that I used to hang around with in the back of the States. So you'd always kind of find someone you knew. So I was grand and I was looked after. Your man kept giving me fags and shit, so I was kind of grand. And then he asked me to send his dad a message, appropriately enough, because his dad was up in Loughlin House and his son had just gone into Castlereagh. So when I went up to Loughlin House, then I kind of had an introduction to the place, because I had to meet this fella to tell him messages, and then he gave me a few fags for the message and stuff. So it wasn't too bad, but I was shitting myself. I was literally shitting myself, and I was hungover. I'd fallen asleep at about 6 o'clock that morning. The guards came in about 8. My brother comes in, he goes, "The guards are at the door, what do you want me to do?" And I go, "Fuck it, I'll go, because I'm not going running." So I just went with them, and I was shaking for like about 2 days. So that was the worst part of it, I think, that I was hungover to death.
Do you think that your initial fears might have been kind of over exaggerated? Because I mean, I don't know about them, but like obviously, I think American media is really kind of you're going to get raped by a bunch of Mexicans, or you're going to get stabbed in the first. Like that stuff's fairly rare from what I
didn't really think. Like I remember like thinking about I remember like going over it in my head, the rape it, and I was thinking, no, that's unlikely. I was wide enough to know that, but that I might get like started on or hit or made do things.
Yeah, that'd be my assumption, really.
Yeah, but that didn't happen, so I was glad it didn't, because to be honest, I was so sheepish and hungover and shaky and stuff, I wouldn't have even fucking had the mental strength to go like, fuck you, I'm not going doing it, even if I got my head
just take it and leave. Like.
Yeah, I would have just like, yes, I will bring the drugs to the other side, please sir, you know what I mean? Because I wasn't in the right state.
The real James is Bernard then, like.
Yeah. I'd have been baiting myself. Wouldn't there, young man? So it was an interesting experience, though, to say the least.
And it was just Castlereagh and Loughlin House.
Yeah.
Loughlin House is gone now, isn't it?
No, I think that's still there, the open prison.
The only reason I know that is the Lands of the Saints and Scholars, the Lunatic and Costello song, which was actually built around Lunatic's a cappella, so the beat was made years later, because it sounds too modern to have been from the time when he was alive, and is forever scarred about their memories in Loughlin House. And I was like, I assume it's some sort of kind of St. Pat's job, like. Yeah,
that's the open prison, basically. You get sent there when you're grand.
Yeah.
You can walk out the gate. Like. I was cooking scones and reading Stephen King books and smoking joints in the cell next door to me. But there weren't cells, there were rooms. Like, it's open, obviously.
It's a bit softer, like.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure, I walked into an open prison in Finland, didn't even know I was there, like.
Yeah.
It was on a historical island, like, with fucking churches and castles and shit like that. And I was just strolling into this place, like, this must be a gift shop or something like that, and I just spot these two massive, big fucking shaved head gurriers, like, and they're sitting there, and I nod to them, and they're kind of like, alright.
Who's the new guy?
I look over the sign, like, open prison, I was like, oh, it's like, fair enough, like, I was like, that seems alright, like, but I'm not gonna fucking hang around, like.
That's what we should yearn to be like, the Scandinavian model countries.
Because it does seem to actually fucking work, like, like, Irish prisons are definitely softer than America, but when the prison is kind of, I think if you've done something unredeemable, then you should get the most miserable existence ever and not be allowed out. Yeah. But if, I don't think that people...
Well, like, every time there's an article on Facebook, people are under, he should have got 20 years for that, oh, we're too soft over here. Well, there's a system where they do go harder, and it's America. Is it safer in America? Because is it safer in any other part of the world where they're harder and harsher with sentences? No, it's not safe. so it's not working, fail, start again.
It's built that way in America though. Like we won't get too into the political side of things, but
Money.
like the fact is is that they've I think it's something like the vast majority of registration plates are built in American prisons, and like little various trinkets that we all use every day are built there, and it's kind of like
because it's money.
Fucking logical then, just fucking basically.
That's the new form of slavery. It went from slavery to,
as Dave Chappelle said, sprinkle a little crack, drop some guns down, and boom. Like I think it was. BG Knockout, he'd be one of the boys on that Eazy-E song, Real Motherfucking G's. I think it's him, and he's talking about like himself and his mates finding barrels of guns as kids, like just left in the middle of nowhere. Like, who the fuck is leaving a barrel filled with AKs and Tech 9s in the middle of so
it's like Boys in the Hood, you have a drugstore and a liquor store in every corner.
Oh yeah. And here it's not really far off that. We don't have the gun store, but any of the kind of rougher council estates I know, there's about 3 off licenses just surrounding the place, and there's houses dedicated to fucking crack sale. Like I'd never I'd been around Ireland, but until I'd gone to the island and seen that, I'd never seen an abandoned house just blatantly. It's called the shop. They sell crack out there, they smoke crack there, and all that sort of crack.
It's sure, like me growing up, it was hash and yolks, and you heard of cocaine, you heard of heroin, but little did I imagine 25 years on that people would be selling crack cocaine on my father outside my father's gaff.
Oh, it's mad.
I would have said, go away, you're on about Compton, fuck off, you know what I mean? It's unbelievable.
And having fellas come up to me and be like, do you want to fucking buy a knife on tick? Like what? He's like, I'll go up and get you a coffee machine. I'm like, I don't.
Why didn't you ask him for a loan of it and then stab him?
I was like, I don't want a coffee machine. And his eyes fucking sinking out of their head. I was just happy that I knew I was with people that kind of knew were from the area. And if they know your face, they'll leave you alone. But I mean, I wouldn't have liked to have been a stranger or a young woman kind of going through a place like that. But I think parts of Galway, especially these days, think they're tough and rough and hard and all that. It's like, no, it's like we still have a long way to catch up on certain parts of Cork and Dublin and Limerick, and hopefully we never do, and things improve in places like that. But
Galway wouldn't be really ready for I wouldn't be able to go up around there now, around the back, and barricade up a house and not have the guards go near it kind of territory. Because we wouldn't be at that level. It's not something we fucking yearn to be either.
But there's some people do, from what I can gather anyways.
Yeah, there's some near enough to it. Yeah, there's a few places.
That's a dream word for them.
Out the other side there's a few places.
Oh yeah.
Near enough to it.
The eastern region of Galway.
Eastern regional network.
Yeah, Westside and Knocknacar is much better these days now.
We're a different breed.
Upper class people.
Pure posh.
So musically, what do you have kind of planned for the future?
As you know, I'm fucking all over the place when it comes to music.
Very much so.
What I be doing, I'll get ideas into my head. And
you're not an isolated mind though in that situation as a producer. That's most of what I do.
Yeah.
So
I just get ideas into my head and I'll get it. It's impossible for me to vocalize the concept I have in my mind, as you well know, because you'll have this thing, and when you tell it to someone, it's just hard because I don't have the musical knowledge that you'd have. So I don't even know that beat is a blah 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 beat, or
I could get my notion of what you're on about, and you'd be like, yeah, and then I'll do that out, and you'd be like, no, and then
yeah, and I'd be like, and then I'll get frustrated because why can't Connor see what I mean by that? And I'm like, well, of course he can't, because I'm not explaining it.
You're in the wrong. At least you can acknowledge.
Because I don't have the whatever the words to, I suppose.
Well, I mean, my argument for that at this point is I'm not a patient person, but people are paying me to a level that I'm satisfied with, so I have to be patient and have to be respectful and acknowledge that people don't necessarily know what I'm doing, and I don't necessarily know what they're doing. But it's like anything, trying to convey a thought. It's not necessarily very straightforward. Music or not, it can be tough. It's like getting someone to, understand why you're so in love with this person or whatever. You know what I mean?
But it'd be like me paying you to do a Farmer Michael sketch. It's never going to be the same, even it's
it'd be better, obviously, but
way better, way funnier. But it's if you can come to a happy kind of medium where you're kind of reading the person a bit and the person's kind of going, that's on the right track. Because it's never going to be, and excuse the pun, they're on the right track, but it's never going to be 100% what you envision.
No.
That's never going to happen.
Because an awful lot of the time, sometimes as well, it's like what you're envisioning can't be done. And I don't like to say can't, but just sometimes that's just not going to work.
But you see, any producer in studios, there's plenty of recordings of them, and they're not sure about the song finish, which is now a classic that we'd understand it being a classic, and they're not really happy with it when it's done. Or they'll explain behind the thing, I wanted to have a bit there and I wanted to have this kind of go instead of and so nothing's ever finished, is it?
With my own music, I think I'm at a point now with everything I've released, probably at least past lockdown, I'm not going back and going, oh fuck, I could have done this, could have done that.
Yeah.
But I'd say everything, like the Field Literature album with Jason is my favourite thing I've ever worked on to this day. But like just parts of the mixing, I'm like, oh, like people saying that's my favourite song, I'm like, why did I have a reverb on the vocals? It just sounds fucking stupid. Like,
yeah.
do you know what I mean? So things like that, but I guess that just comes with experience. But yeah, no, it is never finished. Like when you're a producer, especially, you're picking up parts of it that no one's going to notice.
Yeah.
Like it's like that might sound perfect, but like there's a little element to it. It's like, okay, that might sound perfect, but watch this, and it's like, okay, yeah, I didn't notice that at all. It's like, you know.
Yeah, but you're hearing it from your perspective, whereas fans or whatever are hearing it fresh and new. It's like when I'm recording something and I'm like, just even on my phone, I'm playing the instrument and I'm playing the instrument and I'm playing it. It becomes so dull and horrible and ugly, and you get so sick of the instrument that you end up hating the song, and then you have to like write over it and just you end up hating it even before it comes out.
Yeah, that's why I'm lucky in that sense that we're 9 times out of 10 I'm making my own beats, so if I get sick of it, I'm not going to be the point like I paid 50 quid for that and fucking just sell it now or fucking put it in the
you feel kind of when you buy a beat as well,
you're forced nearly
to put something on it, even though I've about 100 beats now over the last like 4 or 5 years that I just have on my laptop or on my phone there, and I go through some of them and go, no, that is actually good, but is that kind of dated now?
Yeah,
because I bought that 4 years ago.
No, absolutely
you know,
not.
it's like
sometimes I for my DJ Green albums where I just put beats there's beats from 2014 to now, like, so some of them, like, you know, they're just sitting there.
It's just dated because it feels dated to me because I've heard it for the last 4 or 5 years.
We were talking about music that you were working on. We kind of went off on one. So like, is there anything that kind of you're sure of that you want to kind of do in terms of maybe a project or a gig?
I feel pigeonholed because of what I do in the comedy, that I should have the funny song, that I should have the song pulling the piss out of people.
I think definitely when I did the songs with you, like, people weren't expecting.
Yeah, because I'm a miserable bastard.
They were expecting pure fun, and I was like, me personally, I was like, I didn't really want to do kind of just to be on the funny Farmer Michael song, is like, because it'd be a bit gimmicky for me. Like, I would much preferred the fact that you went for a completely different route with it. And I think it's more universal in that sense, where it'll be taken more serious. Yeah. Because I mean, if it was like, if it still hit number 1, and I went to someone who's like, "Oh, this Farmer Michael song is the song that went number 1," they'd be kind of like, "All right, but it went number 1. It went number 1 for that reason, as opposed to it being." Yeah,
it'd be like the
Californian
thing in the NWA movie, California. You know what I mean? So yeah, you'd nearly go like, "Yeah, I had a number 1 there," because it was a gimmicky thing about.
But with that, most people I say that to, like, and not to say in a boasting fashion, but like, just, you know, people are like, "Oh, whatever, like, you know, number 1s don't matter to me anymore because you made one." It's like, because I think that's such a huge deal. It's like, it's not too hard to do, like, if you tick the right boxes, like, do you know what I mean? Like,
I was delighted, like, I couldn't believe it
myself, like,
you know what I mean? I literally couldn't believe it, because, like, you know, a lot of fucking, like, not even blood or sweat, but heart went into it, because I was really low at that time, and I was having massive panic attacks, so I had the huge one in Dublin, so I literally couldn't leave the room. So for that 2 weeks, when I was agoraphobic, that's what I was doing. And when I listen to the song, I can hear it in my voice. I can hear the, like, not being able to breathe properly in it. So that'll always bring me back to that time. But in a good way too, because a lot good came of it. You know what I mean? So it'll always be.
I knew it was going to do well, but I couldn't have imagined it would have went as far as to be.
But especially when Lady Gaga was in the chart with "Shallow" or whatever, and we passed her for whatever, a few minutes or something. But like, when you have the weight of Hollywood and a big, massive Hollywood film, and 2 of the biggest stars in the world, and you have me in my room afraid to leave, and you just throwing it together. Yeah, it's a massive fucking achievement.
Yeah, if it wasn't for my roommate spotting that, we probably wouldn't even known it went number 1 at one point, because I was just talking about it with one of my other roommates that morning, and she came in and said, like, "Oh, it was number 1. It's number 1 now," and then I went on, it was number 2.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, it must have been very."
Yeah, because I was fully sure that we stuck at number 2, and it never. But I heard it from other
number
people
2
as
is a huge achievement. Like.
Yeah. I was happy. I was very happy.
Yeah, it's funny how, as you said, you were sitting in your room, and I was, you know, that, I mean, like, I'd done a good few songs, but a song to that level and with the amount that I was working with, and it's kind of, I had a bit more of a, there was more to work with there in terms of creative control. Like, you had so much different sounds and kind of vibes and all that stuff. Like, that I kind of directed you what I thought would have worked, which I hadn't really done necessarily. Usually people gave me like 3 vocal stems. It was like, these are the main vocals, backing vocals, and hook, and leave it at that.
I think in a way it can be a benefit because I haven't a clue what I'm doing. So I'm open to everything, really. I'm open to advice because it's all fucking new to me. You know what I mean? As you knew when I was messaging you and ringing you and sending you videos that I couldn't even hook up the fucking mic. I couldn't even find the mic in FL Studio. So that was like doing my head in. I had to get you up a few times.
It is conscious, like I mean...
But you're coming then with a fresh slate. You're coming with something... You don't have a preconceived kind of whatever plan. You're just going with it. And when even... Like the writing doesn't really fit the track, but it kind of comes together in its own little way. You know what I mean? So I was happy with it. I
had war with like all that stuff when I first started off, like hooking up mics and getting everything to work perfectly and shit like that. And it took a while, but now it's great to finally kind of be over the hump where I think I know how to do everything that I need to do to a point. Like, but what I was saying there initially, like the kind of the fact that you were up there with such huge artists, despite, you know, me and you basically putting the song together on our laptops, like, you know, by the skin of our teeth. It's like recently enough I got a message off an artist, and I've mentioned this before, but I ain't gonna name him because I'm keeping it quiet, but like he essentially said that he wanted to work with me. Like, this is pretty massive artist from America at once upon a time, at least, you know.
But I know him then.
You probably do. I think actually we've spoken about him before. I'll tell you after the show, but I won't say it.
You don't want to jinx it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, but no, this is on its way of happening, but still, if it ever didn't happen, I wouldn't want it to be public news or whatever. But like, I contacted this guy. We were just chatting away. I couldn't find him on Instagram initially under his artist name, so I looked him up under his real name and I found him. Chatting away, I just told him I made beats, and he just liked the message, and I was like, this fella's an old school legend. I'm not gonna be like, fuck you, like, you know. I was chancing my arm, like. And then a couple of months later, he messaged me with a list of all my beats that he wanted to use and all this stuff, and I was just like,
that's mad. So he actually went through them.
He obviously followed me, and he'd been looking through them obviously, and like it was like 2 a.m, and at the time I was part of a group chat with a load of different other producers online, and we were just putting together beat tapes and stuff together. Like, it was good crack. I assumed the messages were from that, like. And I kind of looked at I read the message first, and I was like, who is this fella? I looked at the name, I was like, fucking hell, okay, like, I was nice like, do you mind waiting till the morning? And I was just kind of like, fucking hell, like, and I was like, here I am fucking, in some cases, dealing with gobshites, like fellas with 50 followers on Instagram getting cheeky because I'm asking them to pay me for a couple of beats, like, and then this guy is coming at me, and, you know, super humble, super respectful. Like, I eventually said to him at one point, like, look, I don't want to be licking your ass, but I just want you to know that this has made my, you know, the last decade mean something to me. Like, I've put so much work into all this, and he's like, man, look, the feeling's mutual.
Like, but it's a little thing like that that can give you a huge boost personally to what you do. It's like when some famous comedian in the UK or in America follows me and goes like, I love your, like, Dawn French messaged me one day and just goes, you are fucking a lunatic and I fucking love your sketches.
It's crazy,
just
like that's the vicar of Dibley, like,
and Matt Lucas as well, and shit, like, and you're like, it's fucking insane. I grew up watching these people on telly and stuff, and they're all of a sudden they're messaging me saying they love what I do, you know what I mean, and they're adding me as opposed to adding me back, you know what I mean. So you always get them lifts now and again where someone huge kind of that you would have idolised growing up.
It's very surreal how, like, you can just come from such a small background and achieve that, but it's like, it isn't just down to kind of destiny or anything like that. It's just you put the work in. The same as myself.
Because if you didn't do it, you wouldn't be discovered, because you wouldn't have stuff out there to be discoverable. So
it's like it's not just fun the whole way. I know, like, a lot of people, they kind of, the grind and, like, you know, ice, blood, sweat and tears, killing myself every evening. Like, it's like, I did put a lot of work in, but I wouldn't say most of it was like, you know, I was miserable throughout. Like, I enjoyed like 99% of what I was doing anyways, despite having not achieved things at certain times or whatever, things not going the way I wanted. Like,
did you ever think of just fucking it up and just going good luck?
No. I
did thousands times.
I'm actually one of the few people that never once have I ever doubted myself in that sense, and that wasn't because I was like, you know, I knew that I'm definitely gonna, like, you know, achieve what I want to achieve.
Do you think maybe
I just enjoyed it, like,
subconsciously you did?
Like, at most it was like, this might not go as far as you'd like it to go. But that's kind of a given. Like, you know, it's a fact you have to accept. Like, this
But you
may
shouldn't
not.
accept that either,
Yeah.
shouldn't you?
No, like it's not something that I will accept. I'll fucking still push myself as hard as possible. But like, it's kind of like you may not be able to completely live off this in 5-6 years, and that's a fine thing. Like, I have my fingers dipped in so many different hustles, anyways, that I'm sure that if I have everything balled together, I can get by, and I'm happy with that. But no, at most, that was kind of the only doubt I ever had. Like, this might not go as far as you want it to go, but other than that, I was just like, I'm just happy to be doing it, like, and enjoying
well, if you enjoying it's half the battle, isn't it? For a while, like, I was like, I have to put out a video today, or I have to do something like that. And you stop enjoying it then, and then it becomes work, as opposed to getting paid for doing something you enjoy. It's then work. It's then it's 9 to 5 kind of territory. Then you start to dislike it.
You start kind of like, I mean, for me, it's like if it's not something that I'm really enthusiastic about, or you know, it really benefits me, not to be a dick, because like I do want to get paid these days. Like, and not to say that it's stuff I'm getting paid for I'm not enthusiastic about or happy to work on, but that's more that the person is like, I acknowledge that you're helping me put this together, and we're a team, whatever, and it's my bread and butter. Like, so
do you get many of them people then come to you and just go like, give me free beats,
do me produce my whole fucking album, mix, master it, record it, and I'll fucking throw you a bag of sweets, pretty much. Like, it's like not too much. It never gets that far, because they go, how much do you sell beats for? I'm like, 50 quid for one.
So I've had people contact me wanting me to do like free gigs around the country or in England, and it'll be great for you. Like, it'll be great to get your stuff out there. And I'm saying, I'm kind of out there already. Like, I don't really need a hand with that. I could do with a hand though, getting a couple of pounds to live on though, because people think you're automatically a multi-millionaire when, like, you get zero from Facebook, you get fuck all from YouTube, so you only make money from gigs. So I haven't made anything in like 2 years, nearly 2 years. So it's like, but people still think you're a multi-millionaire. You know what I mean?
Well, the Beamer does give up.
Yeah, but that's a long story to be honest though.
Like,
but everything I kind of had always went into cars. So
that's the way I kind of always looked at it. Like, that's where he's putting the money. Because I mean, you're still living in a council estate in Westside. Like, you know, I've been in your gaff. It's a nice gaff, not to just criticize, but it's not blatantly like, oh my god, like, this guy's got fucking. Yeah,
because half the people out there would think like, oh, I'd love to see Farmer Michael's gaff. That's it. You know what I mean? Because they assume I'm loaded.
He's living in Westside.
He's living in Westside, the corner house up in Hill.
But I don't get too many people that like, I don't know who it was, and I think your man definitely went under a different username on his email, and it was a big fucking spiel like, oh look man, I know you're trying to make a living off beats, but I think you charge too much. Like, you know, what would you do for a whole album? Like, and I just said straight out, I was like, look man, I'm not charging too much. Like, you go to any, like, YouTube beats in a lot of cases, just to lease them is actually more than I charge for full rights for one beat. And I'm like, so where are you getting off saying that? Like, and then it's like, I'd love to be charging more, but I don't, because I know how people are, and it's like, you know what I mean? Like,
it's the happy medium.
It's like, you do realise how many hours it'll actually take for me if we say do a 10-track album, between all your, like, 9 times out of 10 guys who are coming at me like that have never recorded a song before, and they're like, you know what I mean? It's like, I'm telling you, it's not going to get done in one take, because I know by it straight away, you probably don't even have this practice. Like, so like 10 songs.
It's a big wake up call when you go to sit down and record something and get something right. It's, you kind of realise then, this is fucking tough. This is not an easy thing. It's fucking really hard. And trying to, like, listening to it back and just picking out one syllable that doesn't sound right in the whole thing, and then that can change it. So you have to go, right, I know I had a nice rhyme there, like, even the razor blades the graze and lesson, and then right, I have to dump that now because that little bit doesn't fit. So I'll try and fucking, and then it throws off the whole song. So you kind of have that battle between leaving that little bit in, because it all builds up to the crescendo, or getting it out, and then you end up having to write, like, you can't just leave out that line, you have to leave out a low. So it's that annoying bit. So it's just the change of one word can destroy the song, make the song. So
I find it like with writing, like, I'm usually able to get it done in one go and never, like, change it after that. Like, so I'll just write song, and then, like, pick through then, like, what I actually want to record and use. Like, and usually I'd end up doing most of them. Like, it's kind of because I've got the I'm usually not producing and writing at the same time. Like I'll go for a few weeks of writing music and I'll go for a few weeks of making beats, and it's good. It's a good balance that way. Like, because either way, if I'm doing both at the same time, it's kind of like I'm making beats because I'm writing songs, or I'm writing songs because I'm making beats, as opposed to like, oh, I actually just feel like writing a song.
Would you ever just have a kind of song in your head and then make the beat around how you think the lyrics would fit that suppose?
The music video I just released for the tune The Ghost, which was on my EP that I released last month, the Conscious Living EP, if you want to buy that,
go out and buy it.
But that one, which was my favourite song out of, I recorded about 60 tracks in total for that EP, well, between the last one I did and that one, and I only picked like 5 for it.
Yeah.
But that was the one where I literally made that beat, wrote the song, recorded it, mixed and mastered it in one evening. And I totally forgot about it then, like, and I was flicking through my songs, I was like, what's this song, The Ghost? And I was like, I don't even know what that is, and flicked into it, I was like, oh, that one, I fucking completely forgot about that, that's a fucking class tune, and all that was just literally everything in one. But generally it doesn't work as well as that, like, I've tried that before, I make a class beat, like, I have to write a song to this now, write the song, I'm like, it's just about fucking piss, arse and shite again, like, you know, you're killing someone in it again, like, just fucking go for something else, but it doesn't always work out as good as that, but that was one case where, and then I just did the video and I had it finished then, and I was very, very happy with it, like.
Is there anyone, I'm doing the interview now, is there anyone in Ireland you'd really like to work with?
Out of Ireland?
Rapping, like, on a track, as opposed to producing?
Working Class Records, definitely. Because just, you know, they're fucking the best in my opinion, like, and I do often lick their arse in a sense, but it's not like that, it's just a genuine fan, like, and I know all of them at this point, like, I've met Costello plenty of times in person, get on really well with him, he's a very sound guy, and the rest of them are all dead on as well, and they've all at some point agreed to make a tune with me, bar Beatle Dialect, but I don't really know him at all, so I hope that those will happen at some point. I don't doubt that they will, but I know that they're working on a lot of projects at the moment, and in some case maybe I've gotten exclusive listens to what they're working on at the moment, and some of the shit is like, I can't give any details because I know I get murdered if I do, but I've got files on my phone that they've shown me of stuff that they have, it's absolutely class, like.
And the big debate that's going on, I see on TikTok there recently, English or Irish accent.
Irish, obviously,
yeah.
I don't listen to any stuff with an English accent.
If someone comes on going about feds, I'm gone.
I don't know where that.
I check out immediately. Like, there's one fella alright in Dublin, and he uses the thick Irish accent. Forget his name.
From Dublin.
Yeah.
Kodiak.
No, he's a black guy.
Oh, so it's that Cello fella.
Oh, I think it is. Yeah.
I don't listen to him, but he's the only guy I know.
And it's actually refreshing.
Yeah.
Because it
he
sounds
gets a lot
better,
of good reception. Yeah.
Because like we say, like, rap is about realism and authenticity. I mean, you're putting on a cotton accent. Like, to me, you sound no better than, like, what's that? Iggy Azalea or something. You know what I mean? Like, you're putting on Iggy.
I think the rougher and more hardcore it is, the better. Like, people like Re-Raw is obviously another one I'd love to do a tune with. But like ones like Trust, classic example, like, you know, sounds as Irish as bejesus and is as real and on point. A fella, he's passed away now, Basic, he's got one song, Act This Way. He would have been good mates with Trigger back in the day. Like, he's got a tune and it's just like so raw and so Irish and straight from Cork. Lunatic is another example, like, he sounds like someone you know. And he's rapping about real things that actually go on, and that's issues.
See, that's what you relate to. Then I can't relate to a fella in East London with a knife that's running from the fence.
If I want to listen to that, I listen to a fella from East London.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? Like, if I want to listen to UK rap, I'll listen to
Yeah.
Dirty Dyke or fucking Split Profits. I don't see the point in listening to some guy from Laois.
Like the last few days now, I've gone mad into gone into remix mode, way back to the streets. Like, I'm just listening to the streets all the time. I said it once and I said it before, but I find like Skinner so refreshing in the English rap scene, because it's so distinctively English, but he didn't really steal from anything from.
It's very different.
Like there's jungle beats there, there's house beats. He kind of takes everything and to incorporate them strings and the
it's
whole
never really been replicated either. Like.
No, because like that's to me that's English rap. Stormzy and the rest of them, they're MCs. I wouldn't consider it might sound funny to someone younger, but I wouldn't, like, I consider, there's a few obviously English rappers, but he would have been the first that kind of went out on his own and done his own thing, and like he produced all the tracks as well. Everything.
It was very underground for the most part up until that. Like the only stuff I can think of that's pre the streets would be London Posse, Overlord X, and Task Force, who are severely underrated. If you haven't listened to them, I'd fucking highly recommend that. To me is the best English hip hop ever. Like, and production wise, absolutely insane. They're not together anymore, but they have a lot of great stuff. But yeah, he definitely commercialized it, and this is also the same era where grime was coming out too, so that obviously helped it a good bit as well.
Yeah.
And again, it's not like you can compare most rappers with other rappers, but no one really even tried to copy Mike Skinner, or at least successfully. Like there's nothing really I can go back and be like, oh yeah, there's blatantly
not really.
into streets there.
It's his kind of thing, that out of tune, bad rap. Like he's a terrible rapper at the end of the day, but his lyrics are quality. What he's saying is quality. It's very uplifting shit. It's
like the little like blinding lights, like the thoughts that are going through his head, or the thoughts that we all have.
Oh, I remember going out nights out and that song playing.
Yeah.
And just going, I've been there a million times, you know what I mean? Yeah, so, and like, what was I going to say there? Yeah, just getting back to the whole authenticity bit and being authentic and being real. I just find it annoying when like someone from Cork would start going on about the feds, or like a song that was on the radio there not too long ago, and your one was on about like go to your local MP.
Yeah.
It's like, MP? Where the fuck would you get an MP in Limerick? What are you talking about? Like, not to be bad mind or anything, but like you know what I mean? That's like me saying, like, I'm going to go, you know, rapping about Galway life and then I'm going to go to the House of Parliament. It shows you have a disconnect from the actual place you're rapping about. Like, if I'm going to, it's like me having a song named Galway and I start talking about the Australian Embassy, or like PM John Howard or something. Like, it's like, no, like it's one of them things that just, it shouldn't irritate me so much, but it just does. You at least get the name of the politicians in the nation you claim to represent right. If you can't do that, then you should not be taken seriously.
For me, the kind of I think the best possible kind of sound or vibe to go for at least for me, is like the everyman music, but have it that's actually so good to a level that people will all be like, it's larger than life, which I think the Streets is a very good example of that, where he's an everyman, but it was
because it covered all bases, really.
Class, like
it covered all bases. Like people that were hardcore ravers kind of liked it, whereas people that were like older generations liked it, and it was poppy too at the same time, so it kind of covered everything. Skinny
Man would be another example of just where it was
here, there's no need to slag me, man.
Look who's talking, like. But it like the way it was, like it touched every single vibe, but as well it was very like it's funky, it's real, it's sad, it's angry, it's hardcore, it's funny, everything, where, you know, and he's just an everyman for the most part, maybe a little bit below the line because he's from a rougher area of England or whatever, but it's something that's, I think as well, I was going to say, like, for me, a lot of the best Irish hip hop albums have not been replicated yet. Like, I mean, even when the genre was still budding and kind of coming back to life, say 2008, 9, 10 roughly, like, I think that there's only maybe one album that I think that's really kind of mimics that for me, not two, like, which would be Hazy's This Misha and Equilibrium, which is Cal Costello, and For Real, which is 2015, and Strange Boys Project as well, because there's nothing else that anyone's done like that. Yeah. But for me, like, that era, say, of working class records between like 2000 and
Strange Boys is one of these, you just see his picture, or you see him walking out on stage and you don't know what the fuck you're in for. You literally don't, judging by his appearance, and I don't mean that in a negative way, but you just don't expect that to come out.
I think it's even more surprising when he's getting up, he's doing some mad shit, like, you know, like, not to the trad stuff. Like, I like the trad stuff, but like, for me, my preference would always be kind of hardcore hip hop, like, and when he's doing that stuff, like, it's like, it wouldn't be what you expect when he gets up on stage and does it, like, and where that man's gonna go, I don't know, but I knew him and I'd seen him, but it wasn't until like I'd actually had him in the room with me and he was recording stuff and whatever, just messing about half the time. It's like, jeez, man, when he's messing about, like, it's fucking better than 90% of the other lads out there. Like,
sure, like, wasn't it you that sent me on his album to me?
Which one? The original one he released?
Yeah, that he took down.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't happy with it. And I was like, that is just...
I don't think I sent that one around because you wouldn't be happy about that.
No, well, if you didn't send it... Someone sent it to me, or I found it, and it was
or
just
maybe I did.
amazing.
It was Shapey Fiend that had it. Shapey Fiend had a screenshot on his fucking story, and I just saw the file in the background. I was like, is that Jordan's old album? I was like, can I get a copy of that?
I thought there was one song on there.
Cold Mornings.
Was that it? It used a beat from...
Oh, no, it's not that one. So
I
think Cold Mornings was the original beat.
This one used a well-known beat, and I was just fucking in love with the song. I was like, and the accent, and like, this is Irish rap. This is what we should be emulating.
Cold Mornings is definitely a classic, and he did re-release that one, I think, on SoundCloud or whatever. I don't know if he put it back up on everything else, but that one in particular is a fun. And he was probably 18 when he did that. Like, there's not a whole lot of rap that's come out from people that below the age of maybe 20 that's classic, but that one is certified.
Yeah, a lot of the older people in Ireland that are a lot of the kind of bigger ones in Ireland seem to be from an older generation. It's kind of weird thing. It's like, because I don't know, as you said, the middle era is kind of missing.
Yeah.
So the people that continued it on later when it started coming back are a bit of an older generation.
I think as well, they still came from an era where it wasn't so oversaturated and it wasn't so easy just to put music out there. You know? So there wasn't a whole lot of shite. It was just like, you wanted this to work, so that's why the quality probably overall was better. Like, there isn't a whole lot of stuff I can think of that I've listened to that's not come out the last few years that's proper embarrassing.
Yeah, it's refreshing as well to be like, I know the whole African American I know the whole rap, I understand the fucking culture, the background and everything, but it's nice to know as Irish people we played a kind of a large role in that. And it's nice, like, you see reeling in the years back in the day when like hip hop first kind of came across the, like, there was boys breakdancing in Cork and Limerick and Galway and stuff. And it's nice that we embrace that culture, and then Irish Americans as well took it on with well-known ones, obviously.
I'm Irish.
You know what I mean? So, and whatever you think of Macklemore, and they kind of continued that on, and you can even tell in Macklemore's accent. You did immediately know Irish American. There's something in that raspy accent that you just know.
Definitely, yeah.
And it's nice as well that like certain controversial figures as well kind of lead an international audience to assume that Irish people are they're cooler than typical white people, if that makes sense.
Yeah, we're more universally liked across the world.
We're more hip hoppy and we're more cooler.
Yeah.
We're less fucking square than the average white dude.
You tell someone in Spain they're Irish and not English, and they're suddenly way bubblier.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to fling a chair at them over a fucking Champions League match or something.
Or bait their granny in the face. Chelsea, in it, you fucking wanker. You know what I mean? But it's gas. We were on about controversial figures there, and we were, as you know, we're trying to get the next wheelchair boxing thing up. And Versey wrote a song from that, Versey, the Dublin rapper, and we were on about if there's a chance that, because Connor said he was going to do it, we're still waiting for a concrete date, but shit's going on in the background, and that there was a chance that there might be an old training session or two in it.
Yeah.
So we're going to basically bring a recorder or whatever and just go, Connor, would you say these like 3 verses and throw them on a track? Just to have like Versey featuring Stevo featuring Conor McGregor. You know what I mean? Don't know if he'd do it, but
worth a try.
What's
he's hardly going to bust you in the face.
He can just say no. Yeah, you know what I mean? But like that'd be cool, like, because the song is obviously about the fight, so it's for a charity.
Yeah.
And if his name is on it obviously might raise a couple of pounds, you know what I mean? So
no, that would be hilarious.
It'd be nice to have that power, wouldn't it? With your influence. That he could literally make me a millionaire in a few weeks.
Get on the tool there, Conor McGregor.
He literally could, like, he could just go in a video or two with me or whatever, post a picture of my merchandise and go here. You know what I mean? And he could make me incredibly
People underestimate how much of an effect that can have, like.
Yeah, it's mad.
What I was going to mention there before was kind of the easy access and kind of oversaturation, which is the negative side of having the internet kind of so prevalent and easy to access now. Is like, I saw a guy and his song's being advertised on Instagram, and like the video is top notch, like, do you know what I mean? He obviously paid good money to have this done. To do a fucking song over a beat that's, you know, some famous chart song beat, and then like he's completely unintelligible in the song, like he's literally like I'm just like, did you not hear this? And then another tune, then this guy, he's got like 120 quid, like his dole money, he's flashing it on. It's not ironic, he's fully dead serious. And again, the tune, I thought he was Eastern European by the way he sounded. No, he's Irish as bejesus, and just completely unintelligible. Yeah. And it's got 27,000 fucking views. And I know, most of that is fucking people having a laugh out of it. But it's like, for fucking, there's been
the controversy works. Look at them two fucking balloon-headed, what you call them, the Island Boys.
Island Boys.
You know what I mean? They're making money.
They're sick fools.
They'll probably get shot to death or kicked to death, but like, it just shows one gimmicky thing. Even your man in Fuerteventura or whatever, very good, very nice, very good, very nice. Like, he's nearly 1 million followers now. No, and fair play to him. He has a hard job. He's going around selling sunglasses to drunk people. He deserves everything he fucking gets.
100%.
But these two little, you know what I mean? And it goes back to that whole Rebecca Black Friday thing, where if you have enough money, you can pay for your song to basically chart.
Oh yeah.
And you can get the best
That's
video.
That's another thing that people forget, that they're, like with some people out there, and I won't name names, they're blatantly buying views. Like, it's like, it doesn't, like, where, there's not, are you telling me that 1 million people saw this in one day in Ireland? Like, do you really have that much followers? Or
you'd see the video on Facebook, and it has 50 likes, and it has 20 shares and 3 comments.
Yeah.
And it has 200,000 views. And that, just me doing videos for the last 7 years, that does not compute. That's been published, synchronized with another few pages across a network. You know what I mean? And it's annoying, because this is like, there's certain people out there, you know what I mean, rapping about certain areas in Ireland and kind of almost ghettoing their fetishizing their geographical location, and you're like, we know you are not working class. We know you're from a very, very wealthy background, and there's a good few of them out there.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, literally, like, if I was one of them people, I'd stick to, by no means can you like not do hip hop or not do rap. But to me, it kind of leaves you off. You're being authentic and unreal. If you like, it's like me rapping about having 55 bitches and doing 110 meter hurdles and having €1 million. I don't have that, so I'm not going to rap it. I rap about what I am, which is a panicky, fucking semi-suicidal, bipolar individual. Because that's the way I am. Sometimes I'm fucking wired to the moon, and I can do this, I can do that, I can take on the world. The next day I want to fucking kill myself and close the laptop and delete all my page. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm going to rap about, because that's who I am.
I've often gotten that because I'm from Barna, where people make the assumption that because I'm a rapper and producer that I'm making tunes talking about the gang life. And I'm like, I think I'm hard. It's like, please, because I've had people pull me aside and say it, like, and like, even at one point I've heard people saying, this fella,
aren't you the guy that lives beside the $1 million site?
this fella thinks he's from Limerick or whatever. And I'm like, I've never come out with any shit like that at all. Like, and it's like, please pinpoint out of these last 100 tunes where I've said this. Now, I blatantly play a character, so I say controversial shit in the sense where I shoot this and blow this up.
Sure, I do it in a comedy.
But, you know what I mean? It's like, I've even had people say, but if you're from Barney, what do you have to write about? Like, it's like, well, like, you don't fucking know my life. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot more to it than whatever, just fucking, I'm a hard man, I sell drugs, this, that, and the other, whatever, like. And it's
how do you want it sounds from a personal perspective, or is it all true to character?
Well, like, it's, when I say it's true to character, it's more just kind of like, I can exaggerate things or whatever. But like, most of it is me. Most of it is personal, as dark and as depressing as it gets.
Can I ask you a question, but don't take it up wrongly? Would you, like, I know you lost your mother when you were young.
Yeah.
I lost my mother, and as you know, I was writing a song about her. But I'm afraid to do anything more with it.
Yeah.
Would you ever consider doing anything like that, or would you be afraid that because if someone said something, you'd have to basically stab them? Because that's what I think.
No, it's definitely not that, because...
do you think it'd come across very cheesy?
Kind of, yeah. It's like, there's nothing really original about it. Like, it's like, oh yeah, my mother died, I'm sad about it, And it's kind of, it's just not really my vibe. Like, it's not that I don't...
See, I'd see it as more of a memoriam thing.
Yeah.
I'd see it as more of a thing that will exist forever in her memory.
Well, I've something like that for me is just more like a personal thing, whatever. Like, it's, but with music, it's.
And I'm sorry, obviously, to bring that up. It was just
it's fine. Those things don't bother me to talk about. Like, it's but just as attention, I don't think he would do a song like that. It's more, I'm the guy that does funny stuff, angry, violent, aggressive stuff, and conspiracy type stuff, and it's just kind of like. Me personally, I wouldn't really listen to a song.
It's very similar going back to me with the character, like, because I'll go like, I'll say to Roxy, like, no, Michael wouldn't say that. He'd never say that. So you have to, you end up, I don't know, kind of becoming the character to think like the character to say what he'd say. No, Michael wouldn't be up for that. Or you can do the odd Michael one where I change it all around and go, oh, I love the gays.
Yeah.
Because he's afraid, because he wants their money or something, or there's some other added element. So you always kind of have to think through the channel of the character, I suppose.
Like the way I would express sadness through a song is, you know, more of like Kim by Eminem, like aggressive, ugly, grotesque, as
because
opposed to a heartfelt, teary-eyed song. It just isn't me. It's kind of like, I have a bit of a singing voice, but I don't sing, not because I'm afraid to, but just it's not me. Like, I don't. It just doesn't work. I don't
and it comes across better anyway, and that kind of overly aggressive shit, because you're out of control. Your emotions.
That's how those emotions really are a lot of the time too. Like I've always said, I think songs they soften everything. Like, you know, it's happy but not too happy.
I used to get depressed and I'd listen to Radiohead and Nirvana.
Yeah.
I listen to my most depressing stuff when I'm depressed, and it makes me feel better. Because if I listen to something like "And I'm happy time along if you feel," I'd kill myself. I couldn't. It's like when you wake up in the morning, you feel miserable, and the fella next door is whistling. You know what I mean? I want to stab him. I don't like that. I'd rather be. And I know, like, it's a vicious circle and stuff, being around miserable people, but sometimes you just rather wallow in your own misery until it comes out of it yourself. But I suppose when you are the way I am, and not to be like cliched or fucking stereotypical, but when you are kind of the way I am, you become used to dealing with going down into those like depths and just staying in them and waiting, because you know hopefully you'll come out of it. And like, you do contemplate some dark shit while you're down there, but then the sunlight comes up again and you're booming again for another few weeks or
it's all really what you're kind of interested in into. Like, it's like song wise, like if it's a positive song, it's usually sarcastic and taking the piss out of something. Yeah, that's as far as it goes for me. Like,
I couldn't do a generally happy song. Yeah,
that's what I'm just listening to. So like creating, like I've tried to avoid the whole like, oh, I love this sound that Wu-Tang have, I want to do a Wu-Tang kind of tune. I've tried my best to avoid that, because it's like, but why would I? I'm never going to be able to replicate that. So I've done my best to just be, you know, what is original, weird, and hasn't been done before in some sense. Now I think my last project, and as well as the kind of one before that, the 2 EPs I did under Attention, like there's a few there where it's like I haven't actually heard anything from Ireland at least that sounds anything like that. And while it may not, it doesn't always mean it's class or it's good, but it could lead me down a different path. So I do my best to kind of like, you know, I love Wu-Tang and fucking Eminem.
If there's not a market there for your shit, create that market. That, you know,
the way I see it, if I've made a couple of quid at all off my music, there is a market for it. And my excuse is like, I don't want to rap and be a mainstream famous rapper or whatever because I made a certain kind of music. I'm not going to sugarcoat it or change it to be more successful. I'm going to make...
I admire that, because as you know, my history with the character, I was a few times, you know, cut out the swearing and stuff, and don't mention certain topics, and if you make it more comprehensible, that more people will understand and stuff. So that's when I started mispronouncing my words on purpose, because I was like, nah, I'm not going to be. So I started basically going, oh, you know, if I was saying your name, Conor McNamara or whatever, just to make it more incomprehensible, because you wouldn't see like Sacha Baron Cohen like diluting down Borat or Ali G. You have to have a, like, it's why I use like certain slang words with James's Bernard as well, because if you don't understand, look them up. That's not my deal. I want to be authentic to the character and authentic to that individual.
I go for that very much with my stuff, where I write or describe stuff that the average person doesn't know what I'm on about. It's not because it's super intelligent or complicated, it's just because it's like a private joke or some shit like that. And I get more of a kick out of the fact that like it'll go over everyone's head, and I'll play it for one of the lads and he'll be fucking snapping himself.
Exactly.
Like, I know what.
Because I get a lot of people like coming over to me going, "Oh, James Bernard's the best character you've ever done," because he's like, I know fellas like him. Whereas if I just done the fucking Glen Raw, like what's the crack, boss? People would be going, "That character's shit." It's almost cliche to the type of shit, or to the point of being shit. But whereas you keep it genuine, people admire that, and they go like, he knows people that are like that, because he knows people that are like that act like that, because the words he's using and the phrases he's using. So you're more accepted then.
My favourite skit that you've ever done will always be the James Bernard's Guide to Soft Grade. Like I've watched them multiple times and just
It's just because he's such a fucking rogue. But I like the characters to be rogues. But I remember when I first started doing James Bernard, and I remember just sitting in the car and like I just done a Michael video. Michael's pure. You know, I don't have big hands, but I act like Michael has big hands because he's meant to be a country fella. And he's stiff, and then I go into James Bernard and the shoulders go back straight away and it's pure, you know what I mean? You end up like completely like metamorphosizing, even though most of the times when I've done the original videos I was wearing the same clothes and everything, but like if you get away with playing that character and playing a 68-year-old farmer and you have a man bun and a waistcoat and a nice blazer on, then you can get away with fucking playing. I've always said it, if I had the backing of like fucking huge production company with fucking sets and makeup and shit, imagine the fucking madness that could come out of it. But no, you stick to the car, so.
Oh, it may come sometime in the future.
It worked anyway.
Yeah, no,
Sure, imagine if I had an RT show, how crap it'd be, let's be honest. It'd be terrible.
Yeah, I mean,
you know what I mean? It would.
You saw what happened to the Hardy. Like I still think Hardy Bucks was good on RT, but it wasn't the same. Like, you know.
So look at the two Johnnies. I'm not a massive fan. I don't really know their stuff, but like
that was petty. Like
they mentioned car bumper stickers from people that sent them in, and they just read them out. And one of them had something about a slut, and she was a girl that thought it was really funny.
Yeah. And
their show was taken down. Like maybe an odd person going, "Oh, that's shit. They should know better." One tweet. That should be the extent of that. But it's in every headline and everything. You're what the fuck?
Like why? Like even if people did get offended, why is it news?
Like if one of them had said during the radio show, "Oh, that Britney Spears or whatever, or something, she's a slut," you could kind of justify it. But they were reading out like it's ridiculous. It even made me put up a statement, and I don't put up statements in like support of like other like creators because I don't really watch videos.
Yeah.
Like Roxy showed me videos of people. Did you see that? And I go, I don't really watch comedy. I don't watch sketches. I don't like any of them. I don't even like my own. How am I going to like anyone else's? You know what I mean? So.
But the way they act like that, those comments are now the catalyst between the wage. This is why the wage gap is a thing. It's like. Like they got up on stage like fucking Adolf Hitler and was like, women are fucking not equal with us.
And you'll have someone coming up then with the Irish Times, the feminist perspective, with Una Gilcoyne or something, you know, and it's like.
And I wouldn't mind, like, I know fucking Reddit is no place to kind of, you know, it's.
That's where I got my famous the Reddit stream about me.
Yeah.
And the famous one that I used the cover photo where it goes, he's always hanging around Ayr Square and occasionally threatens to stab people. It was the best review ever. I'm so glad I found that. It was like brilliant.
They up into the weeks up until this were the very ones, and they were all going around wherever they were in Ireland and posting examples of the fucking stickers that they were finding, like, and the very same ones then, who were basically doing exactly what the two boys did online in their own little area, were condemning these two sexist fucking misogynistic bastards, and it's just kind of like
people said like in their podcast. In fairness to them, they're always highlighting like consent and always highlighting like, you know, proper fucking societal behaviour.
Yeah.
But they get destroyed for this. There's education and then there's having a laugh, and that should be, you know, like having a laugh within reason. And that to me was, because it's like, I don't even get me started.
For me, it doesn't really matter. It's like a joke is a joke. You don't have to like it, but like the whole way it's become, as I said, like you make some sort of joke, and it's like this guy is like he's up on a pedestal, you know, shouting orders saying me to exterminate this group of minorities that he's slagging off. It's kind of like, no, he just made a stupid joke, like just laugh at it or don't, and like
you can make a joke and you can make a joke and it doesn't necessarily have to be your own personal views. But like obviously there's ones I never say. Like I've fucking Google Notes there on my phone, and I've a lot of them in there, and like I can't even half say some of them. There's one that I'd say now. It's basically about generally being disabled, and how it goes on about equality, and I said disabled people are not even equal in suicide with tips because we can't get to the edge of cliffs. And that's not making fun of suicide or making fun of disabled people that commit suicide. That's making fun of a society where we are unequal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
I think people's issue.
I get slaughtered for things like that. And that's only a light one that I can say on it. There's other ones.
People's issue straight off is their own problem and their own issues with the fact that, I mean, if this is the correct term to use, that you're able-minded or fully able-minded, so they're looking at it like, you know, you don't have, just because you've lost the use of your legs doesn't give you the right to slag stuff off like that, because they're thinking of the people that are also disabled mentally as well as physically. Yeah,
instead of just coming at it from my perspective. And I get attacked regularly for calling myself a spastic. and I suffer from spasticity. I'm technically a spastic. Like, you've seen my legs shake a lot. Like, I'm on meds for it. I'll call myself a spastic if I want. If I want to call myself like a cripple or a spastic, I will.
Yeah.
Like, no one's gonna like stop me doing that.
It's just
Like,
totally
we should take words, like I've always said it, like to like the IWA and to a lot of people, that right, spastic, yeah, I can understand that one, but like cripple should be a word taken back. Like the African American, the gay communities, they've taken back words and used them to strip their venom off them. And words like cripple, take them back.
On that note,
and shoot the rest of the disabled people. Had to say something.
I'm not going to cut that out now. On that note, we'll finish up. I really appreciate you having me on. As I said before with everyone else, I'll definitely have you on again a second time.
Absolutely, and it's been a pleasure.
Thanks for all. I'll get all the extra views now off this feed now because he's got a good following.
Use them. Swear my life.
Sound. Alright, good luck.